fast over the decades, but we witness that over the past century, the work has changed significantly, and the world of work has undergone transformation. So shifting from the structures of the industrial age to the dynamic and evolving landscape we witness today. Travel from these assembly lines of the past to the virtual spaces of the future, technology has emerged as a powerful enabler, so forming a new era of occupations and possibilities. And in this brief exploration, we will trace the remarkable evolution of work, highlighting the changes and also how this is redefining the very nature of work itself. So it is a very interesting shift that is happening, and in, let's say, very accelerated speed. So we can see a bit funny slide, but it is some ugly statistics from 10 years ago, let's say, approximately. And this is just an example of how transformation of the jobs to new occupations happened in a few markets. And how automation and technology innovation impacted the occupations even 10 years ago. So, however, as we saw in previous video, the change speed is accelerating, of course. And what we are seeing in today's market is transformation to new occupations with regards of 10 years industry revolution intervals. But now the intervals are even smaller. So that's the fact. And of course, the even faster with the emerging let's say, hunger for the new occupations, while all the occupations are slowly dying. So that's the characteristic of the new work. We will also why this shift is happening. So it's not only automation and technology and how the world of work is changing. So, and it is because as well of the limitation and the challenges of the traditional work models. So it's not only technology, as traditional work models are limiting growth of the companies as well. For example, they lead to talent retention issues as workforce is looking for better opportunities for career growth and etc. Also better work-life balance and things like that. So we will also take a look at that aspect a bit later in addition. And also there is a component of innovation stagnation in this area. So with the traditional work models, it's innovation, it's not the core aspect or core benefit or component. Therefore, there are some competitive, of course, disadvantages as a result. And eventually, from the workforce perspective and the talent needs today in today's market, also recruitment challenges. So to unlock a company full growth potential, it is essential to explore these alternative work models that provide more flexibility and adaptability and allowing employees to contribute their best and thrive. So by doing so, companies can position themselves for success in an ever-evolving business landscape. And there we have as well the concept of time and place independent work. There are a few other aspects, we will see that later, but the concept of time and place independent work is one that is the crucial for today's market and for today's workforce, and presents a profound shift on how we approach employment and productivity. That's a key point in regards to this. Time and place independent work is an, let's say, modern employment approach that liberates individuals from traditional constraints, while therefore enabling them to choose when and where they work. And there are a few key enablers companies should have in place in order to, let's say, have this approach in their business, in their organization, so to be able to empower their talent and to, of course, gain some competitive advantage in the market. And these key components could be, they're not this, I will say this list, but it's not limited. Every organization is a story for itself. So there could be additional items needed in an organization to be implemented as an enabler for the time and place independent work. But organizational context and transformation of the organizational context is one main topic, and the separation between leadership and day-to-day operations that diminishes, promoting a flatter organizational structure. So there is also increased need for the training, and because the dynamic nature of the time and place independent work requires a greater emphasis on training, coaching to navigate constraints and changes that are happening on the work, and both for the leadership and management, and both for the also for the employees. There is one component which is also part of this, but it's more like in organizational context important. However, informal department formation is also something that organizations should consider, because this is something that fosters informal behaviors in the workplace, potentially leading to more flexible department structures and flexible approaches to work. Then, of course, therefore, shifting control is also important, because in the traditional work models, we have these control mechanisms in place. And in the new operating models or organizational models, there are a bit different controls in place. And this should be also considered how control mechanisms should, let's say, shift basically from the presence-oriented model to an output-oriented approach, and with some focus on results. From the point of view of the companies, so it's not only that just employees seek some flexibility in their work arrangements. Employers too are increasingly exploring the concept of flexible hiring to adapt this ever-evolving business landscape. I will ask you, Johnny, to help a bit on this, and maybe you can advise us. So as you have this extensive experience in organizational design, compensation, benefits management, can you share your experience in dealing with various employment agreements and compensation planning for these diverse distributed teams? Also, what tips can you offer to companies looking to hire remotely and build effective teams in this context? And what challenges have you faced? How companies could ensure fair and competitive salary structures and benefits across different locations and different organizational designs?
Yes, thank you, Snezhana. You really put this well. Everything, the entire concept we are now mentioning, and what is really important to say about international remote hiring is that this is really that must be, let me say, revolved from the very start. Why? Because if we have a good collaboration with business, and if we have the HR who is, let me say, appreciated and incorporated in all processes and in decision making like as a partner, not only as a support, then it is much more easier to rework everything and to create effective and really intelligent HR concepts and processes that will make us make this labor low efforts and recruiting and training and everything which is considered to be the job of HR easier. Why I'm mentioning this, because HR actually must be the one who will the work and distribute this HR expertise, and the one who will have almost open hands to do whatever it's necessary to organize the processes for the international remote hiring and for the old processes which are connected and related to this. Traditionally we have always the situation that we have two types of employees. So one who are hired internally on the contracts, and the other ones who are external ones, or the I don't know, consultants, then the ones who are working as the external ones. So the thing is how we can create this transformational journey, mindset, change of mindset, to convince business owners that we can do as HR, as the business with both of them, and that both of them are actually the helpers and value makers. Because in nowadays we are now in a lots of troubles about this crisis which is coming, and then the companies are thinking how to plan their headcount and how to deal with costs. And sometimes they are observing the employees as the numbers and the cost, and maybe some of them as a problem makers. But actually, I'm what proposing here, and what is the main thing that my company is proposing, that it's really now necessary to invest in people, because and to do it in smart way, because now in this nowadays when you have that these global changes, global things that are happening about digitalization, about movement of the labor workforce, and not only physical movement, but because now we have the remote one. You know, everybody could work everywhere from whatever point in our globe. So we need to think how to create smart way to hire the best employees, internal, external, no matter where they are sitting, and to attach them to our for our needs, for our companies. So it is really important that have that company every have company has the effective, flexible, and more rewarding and organization design policy, because you need to create the policy that will cover all the aspects of the employment, so the external employees, and to focus this rewarding policy on proper transfer of value to employees, smart budgeting, and the smart budgeting in that way that we could involve employees to be actually participants in our budgeting. So actually we can encourage build up of organization design and rewarding policies that are focused on proper actually value of employees. So we to employees, we need to create smart budget. We need to create a budget that could be accessed by employees, and by usage of technology. So HR technology, or not only the HR technology, but we have a lots of concepts that are developed today that will really help us to be the ones who will properly design everything for the international remote hiring.
Yeah, that basically means that not only flexible work and flexible hiring are things that companies should consider, but that basically, as a consequence, has and actually today we have a need to have dynamic, flexible processes to be able to accommodate these evolving needs of the workforce and of the market environment. So.
And the most important thing is, sorry for interrupting you, that it is placed in the hands of HR, in the hands of the people who know how the organization can be built, then the ones who know to create the processes. And because the HR needs to be somebody who will take care about needs of company, and also about the needs of the employees, no matter if they are internal or external ones. For me, it doesn't matter. It is the same. You know, we are all working to contribute to the company.
Exactly. So basically, what you're saying is that HR should be empowered. Thank you, Johnny, very much for these insights and advices. What we see from the different angles, that is something where actually the world of work is heading to, because people are seeking the more freedom, and in comparison to the traditional work that happened in the past with very strict schedules, strict salaries, potential, actually earning potential, etc., etc. Businesses, as that was the case in the past, mostly today, competitors are coming in your country, in your city, in your municipality, actually from all over the world. And that is the something that is pushing actually a lot of businesses to change the approaches to be able to remain relevant on the market. And for the worker as well, this career diversification is the key also component, because what we also see today, no more people are no more working for one employer like 20, 30 years. They're changing employers, they're seeking career growth, knowledge, and better earnings as well because of this, especially as we saw in the recent time that cost of living increased everywhere, and that is one factor, but only one, that is forcing us to do some, let's say, side hustles to earn additional money, to change careers because they need to afford the living. And of course, there is a cultural aspect as well, because today also people seek some, let's say, environments where they can innovate, contribute, and learn and develop, and that is also. But let's say from the perspective of remote work from home and global work, there is also aspect of cost saving from perspective and from the company's perspective, because especially we mentioned earlier that these office spaces are no longer needed. This is also good because this kind of flexibility, it will or even now enables individuals to explore diverse roles, industries, and then enhance their career adaptability and development. This will and this is becoming and will become actually very important in the future, because these skills needed on the market are also obviously evolving, and individuals need to be and to remain relevant on the market. And then from the organizational perspective, but also from the company perspective, there is not so new but not so used management, this approach, let's say, on holacracy. And this is something that we will see in the companies more or less. I mean, what I mean by that, it is basically holacracy would mean almost complete freedom, but not all companies are ready or designed or could govern the complete freedom in their business. However, some levels of these approaches will be visible in every company, not maybe 100% of the freedom, but maybe 80% or 50% or something like that. And we will see a bit later also how that is happening. And what is what this approach of holacracy versus hierarchy means? Just we need to understand the concept to deep dive a bit in the next slides. But basically what is happening or in this holacracy approach is that we have this one super cycle that governs the overall direction of the company. And in that big super cycle, we have these smaller ones that are basically in different levels, self-governing or self-managing, and dynamic. So what would mean by the dynamic is that this, like a lava lamp, let's say, these cycles can change the content or exchange the content in between themselves. And in comparison with the traditional hierarchy, then we have this structure that we all know already, that we have top management and the staff at the bottom. So the dynamic cycles, but I already said what these dynamic cycles are actually meant to be. But basically, this is the constant change. So dynamic cycle means that, like, for example, from the practical point of view, one cycle can have 2 internal employees that are working full-time permanent, and 5 external employees hired on different basis for some temporary or mid-term needs, or something like that. So you can imagine. And when we talk about the levels of the self-managing, there are different levels. So not all organizations are ready to dive fully in these self-governing teams in this 100% self-managing teams, but some levels will happen and already happening in a lot of organizations. We will see later how that also can be in the big companies implemented and in the small companies. And here is just an example. What are the key difference from these two approaches? So we have traditional structures when we have managers who lead, and we have this self-managing structure when we have the managers that are responsible to set the direction. So basically, like you have some wheels and you have someone who sets the direction of the wheels, where to go. And the wheels then, by the processes implemented and the context, will act in the right direction with some self-organizing and decision-making. So this is really an advanced approach. Like you would have self-driving car with the algorithm and program that is placed in the car, so car already knows what to avoid, when to stop, when to like push the gas or something. So in that kind of manner, we will have also these dynamic teams in the organizations that will have algorithms under the brackets as some implemented processes and contexts and rules in the organization that will enable teams by these, let's say, directions that are set for them to be able to run toward that direction in a self-managed way. So that's the, let's say, some practical real life example to understand better this concept. And I would say, or HR Dada would say, that self-managing teams are key elements of a freedom-based workplace. So these teams take charge of their work, so they make decisions, foster culture, and shared leadership. And in addition to this, there are these other components that we mentioned earlier, as of in total some sort of flex work with different as well components within this flex work. And I know that someone would say that these self-managing teams will never happen because we always have people that don't want really to work, or not motivated or what's on. But this also depends on the context, on the processes, like we mentioned earlier, that this is something that is also solved as stuff we are solving in any other way in the companies. And then we have some comparison. What is actually self-managing team and what is self-managing dynamic team? There is a bit of difference, not big, but there is a bit of difference. So self-managing teams have a high degree of autonomy in managing their work processes and decision-making. They are responsible for setting goals, planning tasks, and monitoring progress. Also, around the structure, self-managing teams typically have a relatively stable structure. So meaning the team members remain relatively constant over the time, not big changes here. They work together over an extended period and may develop expertise in their specific area or focus. And the third concept is stability. So these teams often have a stable workload and constant set of responsibilities, so always the same. So that is something that makes easier to develop processes and routines that potentially can maximize efficiency and performance. While, on the other hand, we have these self-managing dynamic teams. And these self-managing dynamic teams share many characteristics with self-managing teams, but are designed to be more adaptable to change. So they excel in environments where tasks and goals frequently shift. So there is always some change in that area. The characteristic is also fluid membership. So dynamic teams may have more this kind of fluid membership, with team members coming and going as needed to address changing project requirements. So this adaptability allows for a wider range of skills and expertise, of course. And of course, as a consequence to all mentioned before, there is also certain level of adaptation to change, because these teams are often tasked with responding and rapidly changing circumstances, such as an agile project management, where team composition may change from one project to the next. So that is something that we also mentioned earlier, but this is a clear differentiation. And therefore, some companies may have a bit more of self-managing approach. Some companies can have a bit more of self-managing dynamic approach. Plus, with these different levels of self-managing authority, let's say, given to that teams or within the organization. And this is nothing new. There are companies that are already working in this way. This is not a final list. This is just some example for you. So maybe you can also search on the internet and see what these companies did. But there are also some, interestingly, there are some government organizations that did this self-managing approach. And that is, let's say, to me, when I heard that, that was really wow. And the thing is, the key characteristic of this is that these companies all did something differently. So it wasn't like one size fits all. Every company developed some approach that will work for them. So they, based on their industry, based on their probably goals, capacities, and many other factors, created their own approach in this area that will work for them, and they're all successful. That's also important. There are also some companies that tried to implement this stuff, but failed, of course. However, I would not say that these voices which failed something are relevant, because it is very important that the company and those who are decision makers understand what is behind of this, and to create the context, processes, infrastructure, and tools to support and enable this stuff. Because it is not, we are like approach, we have all the existing, but we want like to be self-managing. It's not like that, so it will not work. You have hierarchy, you have a traditional decision making from the top down, and you just want to give some freedom to employees so they can self-manage. In this case, the failure is 100% guaranteed, because this will not work. This is something that should be actually assessed on the company based, and be implemented as per company needs and from every angle. So that therefore there are different things that will be suitable for different level of organizations. So for example, as we can see in this slide, this implementation of self-managing teams some sort of involves a strategic approach that is tailored to unique characteristics of the organization. So there are, let's say, three components of this. And first I mentioned before, but let's say second is also communication and stakeholder engagement, because of course, if you implement the latest tools, the latest processes, and etc., and the people still are living in the past, of course, if it's not completely new company, so you build something from the scratch, the change will not work. So that's the point. Then, of course, training, roles, culture building, that is also something that should be integral part, but this is not something that is final list of items that should be considered. However, these are the basic postulates and the basic starting point for this stuff. So I would say that, let's say, for small can do faster this kind of implementation than the big orgs, but big orgs can do like some pilot teams in specific divisions for some specific functions, and then expand and see whatsoever would work for them. And of course, the key is to align the implementation strategy with the organizational size, structure, the culture, while putting emphasis on clear communication, comprehensive training, and gradually supportive approach. And as I said, all of this, I would ask again our guest, Jonathan Harding from 5H Services. So could you provide us some tips on how to design an organization that accommodates these self-managing teams and fosters this culture of self-management? For example, how does this impact job design, grading, authority distribution within the organization? Are there some specific practices that have proven effective in your experience?
Thank you, Stefan. You very well covered the topic, so I will try not to repeat anything because really good covered. Really, I'm impressed. The thing which must be mentioned here, again, I will be back to the internal and external employees, so I will call them internal and external helpers, because, in situation when you are thinking about self-managing teams and you do not have this middle management, which is now important and in current and, let me say, traditional organizations. So the main thing which must be observed is this trust. So trust issue, as you mentioned, that there must be really good communication between the one who are leading company and the lots of internal and external helpers who will be involved in managing the processes and everything inside the organization, and not be led or managed by middle management. So this is one thing which is important. So if we observe as HR this situation, we could say that sometimes the leading top tier in the company, or the leaders can be in this situation lonely, because when I say lonely, I think that they are maybe used in the previous times to have somebody who is between them and the one who are doing the actual work. So there is a great, let me say, space here to work with the leaders and to actually help them how to break these trust issues and how to make closer contacts with the employees that are now internal external helpers that will actually do the job and that will self-manage all the things that were previously were managed by the middle management. So there is two things that this must be considered. So actually corporate culture, how to create the environment that will create the smoothest and easiest way and to create the collaborative platform that will help in organization to acquire its goals and actually to work without problems. And as you say, really good. This is easiest to do in the smallest than in bigger companies, and the smallest companies it could be done maybe on some gradually, part by part or year by year, in order to create this good approach and this good practice. What I can say this, and maybe what will explain how the companies should, let me say, create their strategy and policies, is put it like this. So do not consider for hiring followers. You need to consider hiring helpers, the one who has the expertise, the one who will be capable to do more and to help the company. So you do not hire followers, you hire helpers. Do not develop followers. So you need to develop the ones who will help and who will be involved in all the processes via, let me say, collaboration platforms that could be produced and that could be developed inside the companies. So when you do not promote or include in decision making followers, you need to promote and include in decision making helpers. Again, I'm going the same way because this should be the only possible way to do it, because you don't have a middle management. You have the ones who are executing, working, and in same time making some decisions in order to make company better and to make the results better. Then do not partner or share your profit with followers. Partner and share your profit with helpers, again, because it's a normal way when you grow, when you go through all these steps, that from time to times you find some internal or external employees, or as I say, helpers, that will develop, that will learn to leave the companies with the company's goals, with the company's values, and gradually they will become partners. And what is the general statement at the end? Helpers will help you grow your knowledge, ideas, and business, and followers will only follow you. No, will stay the same place. You must include helpers in collaboration platforms you created for your successful business, and this is the secret of managing teams.
So do you think that maybe someone who is follower could be taught or trained to become help, given, let's say, having them in the context and the environment where some certain of behavior is expected and needed, that they could become helpers as well?
Again, there is also now the role of the HR to think and to create the let me say, concepts, trainings on the environment for the helpers, for the followers to become helpers. And this is something that we are doing to empower people and to actually look for their potential, to find the potential, and to let me say, make it go forward and the right direction, so that we have this transformation, change of mindset, change of, let me say, conceptual thinking, and actually the way how the employees are approaching to execute the work and to work and live for the company. So this is actually what is important, what we are doing and what we are proposing as the company, you know.
Yeah, that I agree that, and actually, mindset change is the biggest postulate to change in someone's personality. So mindset, I would say, is. But what we are seeing in the world is the mindset is changing as new generations that are, let's say, born with the technology. So we have this also cultural and mindset shift from the earliest years, let's say that it was a mindset of the people of the workforce was like, I'm staying in the company like 20-30 years and I don't need to advance my skills to help much company. I'm just doing my job that is given to me and that's it. But today what we see is this also mindset changed, where young workforce is increasingly seeking the challenging work environment, where they can grow and where they can help that business to succeed, therefore succeed themselves. That would be, yeah. And the HR in this area would be enabler to firstly to assess what is potential, what is the mindset, what should be done in this area in comparison to the company strategy and needs, and in the second also to enable this growth and development and potential development and that stuff. So thank you, Johnny, very much. Then let's jump into the new non-traditional forms of employment. So here is one in addition that is as well very important from the HR perspective. As you also said a few times, HR is very important element in enabling this future workforce and future ways of organizing companies in a right way, because there are many action items that HR expertise is only aware of. In order to be successful, you should have in the company really good HR expertise. Otherwise, it could be just potentially company could be, shooting in any direction without knowing the what they are actually heading towards with their workforce, especially because there could be a big hole and big discrepancy between what is the company strategy and the goals and what the workforce actually can achieve. So, for example, if you have workforce that is not tech educated, really educated, or cannot speak foreign language, and you need that, or that this is actually something that is frequently happening in various and lot of companies. So it is most common, but it could be additional stuff as well. And then you want to implement new technology to move forward your business, and you actually cannot do that because of and this is also something where proactively HR could help and develop the workforce or buy external workforce in regards to enable the company. And also a very important thing is that it's not just the companies are evolving, and given this, what we mentioned earlier, the individuals are making waves too. So we have more available workforce, but I would say at the moment on a global scale, that also is like changing approaches, way to work, changing or evolving, or even having that from the scratch, their mindset from, let's say, not the followers, but the helpers. And this is also something that we will see more in the future. And let's dive into the next slide. Then, of course, as I said that, and we all can see from our own experience that self-employment is on the rise from various angles in different ways, in different manners. So we have a vast self-employment movement, or let's say shift from the traditional work to self-employment. And we will see that more in the future. And what that would potentially mean for the companies is the following. We will have more of this dynamic employment as well. So we will have workforce that is working for different employers at the same time and different work percentage levels. So let's say one employee could work 50% for one employer, 40% for another, 10% free time, or 50-50, or whatsoever the ratio is. So basically working on different work contracts as well. So for one employer, someone could work as a regular employee on classical regular employment, let's say half time, but traditional employment. Plus, in addition to that, can pursue additional missions and work for another employer on additional work contract. That is something that is existing. It's nothing new. But the thing is that this will have, let's say, increasing levels of happening in the workforce and in the world. And this is also global remote work in combination with all said before. It's also, as from one side, enabler of this, because it creates a vast opportunities for employers to hire talent and for employees to find additional jobs. Gig opportunities, we will not completely erase on-site work. We'll still have essential workers or service workers and type of jobs that only in the next 100 years will be done in the on-site, let's say. Although we have retail robots, although we have maybe firefighter robots, let's say maybe medical doctor, some operation, even for the operation, some sort of robotization, etc. But we will still also have on-site jobs for this stuff, for these occupations. However, all that means that this also would change. And with the future of work and with the automation, people will work 3 or 4 days. Ideally, we'll have then also free time to do something in addition, and this sort of hybrid combinations will happen more in the future. And what that will mean for the companies, it is that what it means for the companies, but also what is in the making from the individuals and also some sort of companies. We will see these micro teams or the tribes, let's say, that we will have this small group of friends and or some sort of communities around something specific type of work that are producing services or products for other small or big groups or small or big tribes, let's say. So this will be more like also this kind of dynamic self-managing team potential, but with these small groups that are, let's say, self-employed, globally distributed, borderless, etc., etc., etc. This is something that is in the making, and more people will actually work like this in the future. So we are just now predicted the future, but we can see from what is happening on the market now and what was happening in the, let's say, last decades on the market. And clearly, after this analysis, everyone would reach to this point that these small groups are forming, providing services for other groups, and that will actually be more and more existing, let's say, like that in the world of work. And then how the big companies will look like. Then basically we will have these self-managing enterprises that will be formed of the tribes, with the tribes of tribes. Some of the tribes could be internally hired, some of the tribes could be external companies, but they all will work closely together with the common company goals and direction set for them, of course, with clear contractual elements and everything and processes, etc. Not like in a manner of anarchy, of course. And so for the companies are looking to tap into these non-traditional talent pools, we also wanted to say some tips to share some tips, because it is important to know that global hiring, this location independent, is the new norm, because becomes very hard to find on the local market, and this will only grow because of the advancement of technology. Now we can just, with all said, imagine how HR will change. And in this context of time and place independent work, how companies ensure that the compensation benefits are done smoothly, and variety of HR processes, especially for employees located in different countries with varying regulations. What practical steps can organizational take to address these complexities? One is that we mentioned also hiring these micro teams and their staff, or global remote employment, etc. But I would also like to ask our guest, Jonathan Harding from 5H Services, that is our today advisor and a partner for this event. So Johnny, as non-traditional employment models like freelancing, gig economy jobs, and entrepreneurship are on the rise. That is true. So what advice can you offer to those pursuing these non-traditional employment models? Can you share insights into how both large enterprises and small organizations can approach this workforce transformation effectively and build these globally dynamic teams employed on various employment agreements and stuff that like that? Thank you.
Okay, again, I must say that you really good cover the topic. So it's now for the HRs, and not only for the HRs, for the businesses, it's really important to look in their processes. And as you said, to try to make changes or to try to affect the corporate culture in order to avoid or to replace silos with open and friendly and collaborative work environment. And then if they had a chance to look into the processes and align them with the idea of self-management, and then they will be actually in situation to provide to the employees some kind of refreshment, and so that then companies can think how to organize their activities in that manner, so that they can include both internal and external, let me say, helpers of employees, as we said, and we mentioned this several times. Why? Because it is now important, because it is a reality that we should think about rewarding policies, about benefits, about all the nice things that HR can create for the both of the groups, to create them. And to, when you create your policies as a company, you need to think about both groups, and you need to make a possibility in your documents and in your practices, processes, to cover everything. With the reason that both groups, especially the ones that are externally, that are working as the freelancers, can really sense the company, how the company is working, and how the values of companies are affecting them, and to try to keep up and to stay to work on much more projects, and not only to jump from project to project for a different companies, and this is what is going on now, and this is what the companies and need to do, and what HR 5H services is actually proposing, to that we have everything for both groups of employees, practices, policies,
Excellent.
new processes, and the same approach.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jonathan. And 5H services. And we are approaching our meeting, end of the meeting, today's event.